Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying spooky season. I know I am. So for the past several years, there has been a bunch of random shit in my collection. You know, I would see hauls online, I'm like, oh hey, a bunch of random shit for 30 bucks. Why not? And due to that practice, I've amassed quite a bit of nonsense in my collection, most of which you guys have seen in my collection videos over the years. Some of these series are super obscure, no one's ever heard of them. Some of them are super popular and people think I'm crazy for not having checked them out yet. So this year I decided to put my foot down and finally take a look at everything. I was planning to make this video a long time ago, but of course, you know, a whole bunch of other series that were ending took priority. Then of course, Base Senpai pushed me off a bike. I'll never stop spreading awareness for that story. You gotta watch out for this man. Anyway, so we got 13 series to talk about today. Gonna be doing some, you know, quickie rapid fire type reviews. Now, I didn't read like the full series for every single one of these, mostly just like a volume or two to you know, get a feel of it. So we're gonna see what I thought of everything, what I loved, what I hated, what I'm gonna continue, what I'm hoping to sell as soon as possible. In fact, I may already have ads up online. So we're gonna start with Nightmare Inspector by Shin Mashiba. This series follows, well, a nightmare inspector. He is a creature known as a Baku who can enter people's dreams, and he has a little business going on where people who are having nightmares can come to him, he'll enter their dreams, he'll figure out what's going on, and he'll send them on their way. Which is a really interesting concept, because you know, you have a lot of different people with a lot of different problems, all having these crazy abstract nightmares, and we get to see it all. We get to like have a deep dive into all of these people's psyches, seeing all their problems, seeing their stories and lives play out, and it's honestly pretty cool. It's a very episodic series, as you would imagine, but a lot of them are very interesting, and they almost always end with a twist, whether it be a nice wholesome twist or a rather dark one, usually the latter, which I thought was really cool. That being said, I didn't keep reading this after a few volumes. It ended up feeling a little bit too repetitive for my taste, and even though they were building up, you know, a more overarching story, I wasn't really that invested in the main character and his crew. So while I don't think I'm going to continue reading it, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I think it is kind of weird how the series is so like unknown, because if it were more popular, I mean, I think it's unique and interesting enough to develop like a pretty sizable fan base. But oh well, c'est la vie. I believe it's all still in print, because when it came out 10 years ago, no one bought it. We'll go 7 out of 10 on this one. And of course, all the ratings I'm going to be given are only based on the parts of the series that I have read, so don't mistake them as a score for the entire thing. Darker Than Black. I don't know what I was expecting with this one, but it wasn't what I got. This was one of the most batshit insane manga I have ever read. Not because of the story or characters, but because of how comically fast-paced it is. It flew by so quickly that I kind of already forget what it was about. Right, yeah, this gate to hell opens up, a bunch of crazy creatures show up, and they can like take people over and turn them into like these unfeeling husks of humans or something. And this happens to this one girl's dad, and then she meets up with this other guy. He's like, hey, we gotta kill your dad or something. This was like a complete mess of a story, but I think I know why, and it's kind of hilarious. So this is based off an anime series. That's always a good sign, a manga based off an anime. I haven't seen the anime, but it's 26 episodes long. From what I understand, this manga adapts the entire thing into 2 volumes worth of content, which is so baffling. I can't even believe someone like allowed them to do this. But it's just non-stop things happening one after the other. You have absolutely no time to like develop any feelings towards these characters at all, no time to process any information that's happening. Like I said, I only read this a few days ago and I'm already forgetting major details because just nothing happens long enough to stick with you. But all that being said, just because of how insane it was, I did kind of end up enjoying it. Like I did have a pretty fun time reading it. There was also some like really cheesy dialogue, which I don't know if that was, you know, actually written there, if it was a, you know, weird translation thing. But I really did end up having fun with it. Although I don't think I can ever recommend this to someone as like an actual like serious story. Maybe the anime is a lot better. I'm sure it probably is, since, you know, it's semi-popular. I've definitely heard about it before. We'll go 6 out of 10. I had fun, at least. So now I'd like to issue a formal apology to one Masashi Kishimoto. There have been times in the past where I may have, poked fun at him a little bit, because, his stories haven't always been entirely, original. I would never go as far to, accuse him of plagiarism or something. I always think he, adds enough of his own stuff. But, there are definitely some similarities between his work and others that made me go like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. But now I just feel bad for him. I feel bad for him because he has this fucker as his brother, Seishi Kishimoto, who only a few years after Naruto started brought us Parts Hunter. This is the bare minimum, man. We've hit rock bottom when it comes to battle manga. People throw around the term generic a lot when discussing battle manga. I don't think it's always a great criticism, just saying something's generic and not really explaining why. But this shit, holy god. It's about this kid who's possessed by a demon. Years ago, the demon came out and attacked his village, killed a lot of people, including his parents. A lot of people hate him for it. So now he grows up and he's all alone. And then he meets this girl and they go on adventures to find O-Parts, which are these weapons or something. Then they run into his rival, whose parents were also killed by the demon. And he's like, hey man, I want to kill you. And they fight. This sucked. This was really bad. I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, I'd heard somewhat good things about this before, seeing people collect it. But just from that description, you can tell that this has a serious lack of originality. There was so much in it that just felt like a weaker version of so many other things I have read. Other things that weren't even that good to begin with. It was a real chore to get through this volume. I could call all the shots, I could tell where it was going with stuff. The art style was very, very unappealing. I thought the designs weren't that great at all. Especially the rival character I mentioned. I made a joke on Twitter. This guy literally looks like an AI-generated battle manga character. What the actual fuck? The only kind of interesting thing about this manga is that the main character's motivation is evil. He wants world domination. I was like, oh, okay, that's new, I think. At least for the hero, a protagonist. But other than that, man, holy shit. I don't know if it gets any better or not, but I definitely do not care to stick around. Yeah, this wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but the story was just so bland, so unoriginal, the characters were so annoying. 3 out of 10. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Now this is an interesting one. I am a massive fan of Zelda Twilight Princess. Probably my second most played Zelda game next to Ocarina of Time. I have this whole thing fucking memorized back to back, man. Except for all the post-souls, but who gives a fuck? No one ever collects those anyway. But yeah, I just love Twilight Princess so much, and I was really, really looking forward to this manga. Not based on my experience with Akira Himekawa's other Zelda manga, because they did all the other mini-series, Ocarina of Time, the Oracle games, all those. I'm not the biggest fan of those. I think they're fine as, fan service. They have some interesting takes on some of these games, but they're always just too short to really be an interesting story. It's usually just a very quick, rushed retelling of these games. The art has always been really good, but I've just never been super invested in them. But that kind of changed with Twilight Princess, because here we have a Zelda game that is probably one of, if not the most story-intensive games. It's a really long game. It tells this, huge story, has a ton of different characters. Obviously it's Zelda, it's no BioShock, but they still definitely put a lot of effort into it. So I knew that the typical Zelda manga format wouldn't really work with it. So what they decided to do instead was a much longer series that tells the story in greater detail, fleshes out a lot of the characters more, and I was really happy with this. Honestly, as a Twilight Princess fan, I really enjoyed the first volume of this manga. It goes from the start of the story to when Link first turns into a wolf. Spoilers, Link turns into a wolf. And we get to see a more in-depth look at his life in Ordon Village. They give him more of a backstory, obviously much more of a personality. We get to see him interact with all of the characters in the village, and it's all pretty fun. A lot of great fan service, really expanding on some of the stuff in the game. The second half was particularly interesting when all of the, the Twilight demons and shit invade. The art was really, really good. The demons looked super creepy, and it actually got really, really dark at some places, which, is to be expected for one of the more darker Zelda games, but I really appreciated the attention to detail and how it stayed true to the original source material while, putting its own spin on things. The one thing I didn't like, though, was the very start of of this manga, which basically gives away the entire lore and backstory of the Twilight Realm, when in the game that was more of like a plot twist midway through when you finally learn all of these secrets. I did not like that really at all. I thought it would have fit much better, you know, also being told in the middle of the story instead of right at the beginning when you don't know anything. It's not a huge deal because obviously most people who have read this manga would be fans of the game, but still, just story-wise, I thought that was weird. And also, if you're not a fan of the game, I don't really know how much this would really appeal to someone because it was very much still made for fans, even though, you know, it does try to tell a more serious story that can be enjoyed on its own. But yeah, not too shabby. I really like this. I don't know if I care to pick up the rest because, you know, it's Twilight Princess. I know how it all goes down. But still, if you're a big fan of the game, I don't think you can go wrong with it. 7 out of 10. Nabari no Oh no. So this is about this kid who joins the shinobi club at his school. Because he lives in, like, the modern world, but there's a bunch of ninja clans running around. This wasn't very good. I read, like, 2 volumes of this. The characters were very unlikable and bland. The story was kind of a hot mess. Like, it was way too fast-paced. They were jumping all over the place. Ninjas were popping up out of nowhere. I didn't really even understand what was going on half the time. Just like the Naruto style with, you know, like all the villages and clans and all their ninjutsu stuff and secrets. Blending with the modern world really felt weird, and I don't think they focused enough on the world building to make me really buy this setting. I know this one does have a smaller fan base and a lot of people do really like it, but honestly I just could not see it at all. It just came across as very whatever to me, and I don't think it's something I want to continue reading. 4 out of 10. I hope I don't like piss anyone off super bad with this video because I only like spent a little bit of time with each series. But you know, it is what it is. And speaking of spending little time with a series, Negima. So Negima, Magister Negimagi. When I first saw this cover, I was like, Magi? 2 of my favorite things? Surely I will love this one. Negima follows Negi Springfield. Fantastic name, by the way. A 10-year-old magician who graduates magician school and is assigned to be an English teacher at an all-girl middle school. This is from the mangaka of Love Hina, which is some ecchi harem trash. So that's kind of what I expected out of this. But I was kind of hopeful that it would be like the good ecchi harem trash, like stuff that's like so stupid and doesn't go like too far that I can still find enjoyment of it. And I was kind of getting vibes from that from the very beginning, just because of how absurd the premise was. When he's like first riding the train to school, he has a magical sneeze and it blows all the girls' skirts up and exposes their panties. I'm like, oh god, this is stupid. But it's kind of funny just because of how absurd it is. It obviously doesn't take itself too seriously. And I was like, you know, maybe this won't be so bad. Negima is a super popular series. It ran for 38 volumes. It has like an anime movie, a live action series, and it has a sequel series that continues to this day. But then I didn't even finish the volume because what I realized about halfway into volume 1 was that this isn't just ecchi harem shit. It's ecchi harem pedo shit. Oh shit, that's right. We got some cuties up in here. All these girls who are like 14 or 15 are like, oh my god, this 10-year-old teacher is so cute. And it's just really weird and creepy, and like there's scenes that are like obviously implied to be awkward sexual situations that constantly happen between Negi and these girls. He is constantly accidentally casting spells that blow all of their clothes off. And the point where I dropped it was when this one girl accidentally takes a love potion and then implies that she wants to have sex with this 10-year-old kid. I mean, she's already like 14, 15, which is creepy, but he's 10 years old. So that was when I was like, all right, fuck off.
Police come over. Any weapons?
I own 21 volumes of this. I own 21 volumes of this. Now I know why I was able to get this for so cheap. Now I know this series becomes a battle manga. I know at some point that's what this series eventually is, but I don't care. I really don't. There are so many other battle manga I could be reading that aren't like this that you know, 2 out of 10. I read like 3 chapters, but yeah, fuck it. DN Angel. you know, DN Angel. What's interesting about this one is that it has the longest hiatus I've ever seen in a manga, you know, not counting indefinite ones. 8 years. This series was on break for 8 years. Imagine being a DN Angel fan. They suffer way more than Hunter x Hunter and Berserk ones, let me tell you. This series follows a middle school kid who is a descendant of a long line of phantom thieves. When I think he turns 14, he unlocks his phantom thief powers. He has like this shape-shifting pet thing that helps him steal paintings and stuff. And he's like, hold up, I don't want to do this. Can I not do this? And his family's like, oh yeah, sure. The problem is that you're going to turn into a phantom thief if you ever have feelings of love for someone else. And oh no, he has a huge crush on one of his classmates. And the only way to break the phantom thief spell is if she reciprocates her feelings. But the only problem is that she doesn't reciprocate the feelings. She only thinks of him as a friend. But her twin sister likes him, but he doesn't like the twin sister back. Except his demon pet thing that shapeshifts into him, he does like the twin sister. Honestly, it's not that bad. This is absolutely, like, not meant for me. It is clearly a series made for, like, 12-year-old girls. So for that reason, I didn't really care about anything that was happening. But I didn't hate anything about it either. You know, there were some decent parts. You know, it was cute and all. And I don't really have much else to say. I was really expecting this to be like one of the worst ones I would read today, but it really wasn't at all. It was just something way outside of my demographic. I think, you know, like particularly kids might actually really dig this one. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm not super interested in. Although I will give it a 6 out of 10, you know, it was mildly decent. I definitely wasn't bored reading it, so you know, there you go. DN Angel, everyone. Probably honestly the biggest surprise here that it wasn't complete trash. Black Butler, another very popular one. I hope I don't piss anyone off. This series takes place in a very bougie manor in London. You have the Ciel Phantom Hive, who is the earl to this family. He runs this manor, but he's like a snot-nosed, pompous, like little shit. He's like 11 or 12 or something, and he is taken care of by his butler, Sebastian and his, you know, crew of goofy staff. And the first volume was kind of boring. They were just like going around doing butler things, and I wasn't really sure what the point was. That being said, I knew absolutely nothing about this series going in. So near the end of the volume, when they throw in a big supernatural twist that Sebastian is actually a devil who made a contract with Ciel to, you know, be his butler or something. And also Sebastian's kind of a Chad, like basically at the end of this volume, Ciel gets kidnapped, Sebastian goes to save him, he murders like 30 people. It was cool. I was like, alright, it took quite a while to get going, but near the end I was kind of interested. And in volume 2 we have like a murder mystery plot where Ciel and Sebastian are trying to figure out the identity of Jack the Ripper. And this was mildly entertaining, but again, I feel like it was just kind of boring mostly. They were just going around doing mundane stuff. Whenever Sebastian would do some supernatural things, I always thought that was pretty cool, but I wish there was definitely more focus on that. Because just like the normal high-class, fancy, proper pouring tea and making dinner and shit, I didn't really care for it all that much. But I do think there was, you know, just enough interesting stuff to, you know, not make me fall asleep. I don't know if I'm interested in ever reading any more. I mean, it is pretty long at this point. It's been running for almost 15 years. But, you know, let me know if some crazy shit happens in volume 3. Maybe I'll poke back in. But for now, 6 out of 10. Not too bad. I know a lot of people love it way more than me, and that's cool. But, yeah, you know. Not too shabby. I Am a Hero. So this is about Hideo, a 35-year-old struggling mangaka. Like, he had one manga, it got canceled. Now he's just working as an assistant, but he's really old to be working as an assistant, so it's kind of embarrassing. And he has like all these, you know, psychological problems. You know, he has all these philosophies about manga that a lot of people don't agree with. He thinks he's making these masterpieces, but a lot of people don't see it, so he gets really frustrated. He's always being compared to other people who are more successful than him. And then the zombie apocalypse happens. I really like this one. Like most good zombie stories, they spend a lot of time building up the characters before shit hits the fan. We get a really good idea of what kind of person this guy is before things get crazy. It's a very, very slow build up towards the apocalypse, but it's all really interesting. You know, you get little hints in the background, like news reports of, oh, some crazy person bit someone, no big deal. And you know things are eventually going to reach the point of no return, but you don't know when, so there's a lot of suspense there. And when things finally reach that point, point, it's kind of incredible. They portray the like complete collapse of society so well. It's so like visceral and insane, just like people running through the streets and zombies everywhere. It's still very standard zombie stuff, you know, they're like mindless undead people that eat each other, and if you get bitten, you turn into one. Nothing like super original in that aspect, but you know, for what it was, I did think it handled everything quite well. A lot of really standout moments when he like meets his first zombie, which ends up being his girlfriend. There's a crazy sequence where like she pulls him through a door, which I thought was really creative and intense. And then later on, probably my favorite moment in this omnibus that I read, it involves a plane. I know most people who have read this know exactly what I'm talking about. Really, really cool stuff. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I have heard from a lot of people that it kind of falls off, you know, in the latter half. But I still am interested enough that I might check out some more of this one. I mean, I still own the second omnibus up there, which I haven't read. So yeah, if you're looking for a zombie manga that's not shit, maybe give this one a look. It's pretty cool. 8 out of 10. What the fuck is Tactics? I read it and I still don't know. What the fuck is even ADV Manga? Have you ever heard of them? It's this public ADV Manga. This is about a boy who can see goblins. But he doesn't hate goblins. He wants to be their friend or something. So he teams up with the demon-eating goblin, who is a goblin that eats demons. I have no fucking idea what was going on in this manga. This was like some shit. Why is it even called Tactics? Did they even say that? I don't know. There's one point where this like circus magician guy kidnaps the demon-eating goblin, and the guy turns out to be, what is he? Yeah, a tanuki. Just enough of this. 2 out of 10. Fuck this series. Secret XXX. So this follows a dude who works at a rabbit store. He absolutely loves rabbits. Can't get enough of them. But what he can't get enough of more is the owner of this shop, who's an absolute hunk. And he wants to tell this guy, he's like, hey man, I have like a massive hard-on for you. Please suck my dick. There's a big problem though. This guy has a secret. A secret that no one can know about. He is allergic to rabbits. And he fears that this guy will not love him back if he learns that he has this allergy because of how much they love rabbits. Shockingly though, this plotline gets resolved almost immediately when the guy is like, oh, well, you don't have a rabbit allergy, you're just allergic to the grass. So yeah, we can fuck. So they do. This is a hentai. It's this romantic story about these two guys who love rabbits. And they have a lot of explicit sex, which, you know, I'm not really the demographic for these sex scenes. I don't really find them very erotic. So that whole aspect of this volume kind of fell flat for me. But as for the actual romance plot, it was actually kind of decent. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was just expecting like some hot trash because, you know, it's porn. Like I was really expecting like some lemon stealing horror type shit for a story.
We do have a couple lemon whores in this community.
Those damn lemon stealing whores.
I hate them because no one will take our prized lemons from us.
Hey, has it been about 10 seconds since we looked at our lemon tree?
But it was actually kind of just a wholesome, decent romance story between these two guys. Like there wasn't much build up to their romance. It kind of just happened, and it was pretty cliche. You have like, oh, there's a part where he suspects he's being cheated on. Oh, and there's family drama. And at one point, a bunny gets pregnant, and they have to deliver the babies. I swear, this doesn't sound like a romance trope, but I swear I've seen like delivering an animal's baby several times before. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, it was a perfectly fine story. Very surprising. You know, obviously there's some explicit sex scenes thrown in every now and then. So yeah, definitely not for children. But as far as hentai goes, and if you're into yaoi stuff, you could do a lot worse, I'm sure. So we're gonna go 6 out of 10. Oh! Splatoon! I've been telling you guys for fucking years that this is the best manga of all time. I just looked at this cover and I'm like, I mean, this is a masterpiece. You can't deny it. But now that I've actually read it, I can firmly confirm that it is an extremely harmless children's manga with no substance at all.
Hey, what the fuck?
Man, I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss this world where I haven't read the Splatoon manga, but now I have, and I really don't have much to say. Splatoon follows a blue team of Inklings. Of course, if you don't know the Splatoon lore, what the fuck's wrong with you? You got goggles, headphones, bobble hat, and specs. They're actual given names. And they compete in a turf war tournament. I believe they play 4 matches in this series. They win every single one. It's as shallow as a puddle. The characters are very basic. The story is extremely basic. And that's all this is. It is hard to say it's bad, though, because this is very obviously meant for little children who like Splatoon, and they just want a fun series with, you know, fun, decent Splatoon action. And I mean, that's kind of exactly what this is. It's hard to recommend this to anyone other than like an 8-year-old Splatoon fan, but you know, for that demographic, I think it's perfectly fine. And honestly, probably a really good starting manga for kids. Like, if you have any kids in your life who you want to get hooked on manga, and they happen to like Splatoon, because, you know, who doesn't like Splatoon? It's like the most likable game on earth. Not too bad. Not too bad, you know. 5 out of 10. I'm sorry for lying for so long. I like to think that like one person took me seriously about Splatoon and actually like bought the whole series. Probably not very likely, but it's fun to dream. There is a surprising amount of Inkling nudity though. I mean, it's obviously, you know, like no worse than something you'd see in SpongeBob, but it was kind of suspicious. Oh my god, we're on the last one. Holy shit. Oh, there's so much manga and so much of it was terrible. What am I doing? Why can't I just, like, read something good? Seriously, people recommend me good shit all the time. Now I gotta read fucking Tactics. Thankfully, though, Noragami is fucking amazing. It's so good that I'm actually kind of angry. I've had this in my collection for years. At one point I was planning on collecting the whole thing, but that was around when it went on hiatus, so I was kind of demotivated, and I'm like, maybe later. It can't be that good. Then I read like a couple chapters, and I'm like, oh shit, this is actually fucking amazing. Noragami follows Hiyori, who is this girl who has a near-death experience, and as a result ends up in this weird state where her soul can, you know, like leap out of her body. So she enlists the help of Yato, who is an unnamed god, who, you know, spends his time going around and helping people, and he decides, hey, I'll help you try to, you know, fix the connection between your soul and your body. And while Hiyori's in this state, she can see spirits, Akayashi as they're called, and you also learn more about Yato, his dark, crazy past. And he gets this dead kid as an assistant who's, you know, like all edgy and rebellious, and his assistant can like turn into a weapon which he can use to fight against other gods who show up, and it is wonderful. Honestly, the story is super well told. The characters are extremely likable from the get-go, even if Yato is kind of a huge dick. The artwork and action was fantastic. I absolutely loved the lore of this series. I mean, it's stuff we've seen before, you know, like hidden spirit worlds and yokai and stuff, but it was all super interesting. I'm really invested in Hiyori's story of her trying to get her body back. I mean, I thought that whole angle of it was really cool. She has this like tail, which is like a symbolic tether. If she's out in her spirit form and that ever gets severed, well, it could end up killing her, which can add some more suspense. Like when she's out of her body, her normal body is passed out. So I really like how they come up with like a narcolepsy story to explain why she passes out so often. I also really like the aspect where the gods and the Akayashi, they all exist in the world, and people are able to see them, but they just don't notice them, which is a really cool aspect. And yeah, I was just super impressed with this one. Really loved it. I can't wait to read more, and I honestly feel like I'm gonna buy more of it. This is the only series I read for this video that I actually am really interested in continuing. But I really am, because I've heard nothing but good things about this series, and when it starts off this good already, I don't even want to imagine how good it might get later. So yeah, I'm sorry for all the Noragami fans who have been begging me for years to read this. I'm sorry it took so long, but I am very happy that I finally did, because it's amazing. 9 out of 10. Was this really worth it though? Was this really worth it? Whatever, it's done. Fuck this shit. I am never going to buy like an assortment of random manga ever again. So there you go. Thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on any of these series in the comments below. I'm sure some of you like these a lot more than I do. Some of you may hate them more than I do. But we're all here for a civil discourse. So get at it. And I'll see you all in the next video. Whenever that is. What am I reviewing next? We never learn. I hope not.
Aardvark abating, a pet abdicating, a band and a base and a breast. A blaze and ablution, abhor and abusion, abbreviate, abby obsessed. Abduct and ablation, a bridge and abrasion, a bash and abrupt and a bride. Abscond and absentia, absent abstentia, abdomen ably abide. Abominable abrogate, absolute absent, absorbent abstention, abstraction.